If you're coming from more traditional RTS titles, you may find Total War's combat model weird. You're no longer simply giving attack orders to units and engaging in a battle of attrition. Timing and positioning are far more important. In this video, we'll be covering some basic hammer and anvil tactics, mainly in the context of Shogun 2 and Fall of the Samurai, but these principles can be applied to the older titles like Rome 1 and Medieval 2. Most differences between these titles come down to unit names and aesthetics. The core gameplay and mechanics are largely the same. This is the first entry in a sort of sub-series covering general tactics that I hope will be useful to both newcomers and veterans, so make sure you're subscribed to see the videos as soon as they drop. Even if you're new to the Total War series, you may already have some experience with hammer and anvil tactics. They can come rather naturally to the average player, especially considering how much fun we've had using tower defense in other franchises. The most basic hammer and anvil setup involves Yari Ashigaru and Yari Wall holding the line, while your more offensive units move to engage the enemy army in its flanks. The preferred candidates for this role are Katana Samurai, a well-rounded offensive unit, and Light Cavalry, thanks to their high speed and strong damage on the charge. Both of these units are relatively easy to field, requiring only level 1 buildings in their respective categories. Still, most factions will have to do without them in the very early turns of the campaign, so you'll have to be more resourceful with your starting unit of Yari Samurai. For this reason, the Takeda clan has a very powerful early game advantage, being the only faction to start out with a unit of cavalry and being able to recruit more right away. While Katana Samurai and Light Cavalry can and will be useful throughout the campaign, you'll need to decide early on the upgrade path for your army. There are two general paths to go down on the Bushido tree. The left part brings you superior, accessible gunpowder infantry and fire rockets, while the right offers access to superior sword infantry and better cavalry. You could also improve your spear infantry and archers, but your Yari Ashigaru will be gaining experience easily through battle anyway. And archers are a very niche unit type that require a lot of commitment to get the most out of. You'll also have to decide early on whether you want monk infantry, since they require their own research on the civic tree and their own building slots. Anyway, if you're planning on using mainly hammer and anvil tactics over gunpowder reliant tactics, you'll be gravitating towards superior sword infantry and cavalry. You'll want to phase out your Katana Samurai for Nodachi, who have much better charge and attack values, which are more important in Shogun 2 than armor and defense, where Nodachi are quite lacking. Keeping them sheltered from archers and cavalry shouldn't be too hard anyway. And Banzai is great. Check out my top 5 units in Shogun 2 video to find out more. Cavalry are expensive to field, so phasing out light cavalry completely isn't a good idea, but you will still want to supplement them with the more expensive types. By this point in the campaign, enemy armies will have their own cavalry attempting to flank you, making Yari Cavalry the preferred upgrade path due to their high anti-cavalry and charge bonus. They're still fragile, so consider supporting them with a unit of Yari Samurai during cavalry fights. What about Katana Cavalry? While they aren't suited to the anti-cavalry role, they can be used in hammer and anvil on a much smaller scale. Charging Katana Cavalry into a unit of Katana Samurai, pinning them down for your faster Yari Cavalry to deliver the killing blow is very effective. Katana Cavalry can be considered a mobile anvil, working in tandem with your charge-oriented spear cavalry to repeatedly envelop and destroy isolated enemy units. But what if you're facing hordes of Yari infantry, as is normal in campaign? That's where the dismount button comes in handy. Katana Cavalry can be transformed into a unit of Katana Samurai, smaller but with better stats, and without the vulnerability to anti-cavalry units, making them excellent for tying down enemy spear infantry while your still mounted cavalry wheel around to break them. Once this is done, you can remount your Katana Cavalry and search for more targets. Do your best to stay away from ranged infantry, who can scatter your horses and leave your men dismounted for the rest of the battle. There are drawbacks to this moving hammer and anvil tactic, and those are the need to micromanage your units effectively, and the amount of infrastructure required to field both Katana and Yari Cavalry, though you can save a slot by continuing to use light cavalry instead of heavier spear variants. Of course, this isn't of any concern in multiplayer where your only limitations are cost and competitive rule sets which restrict how many of each unit you can bring. In Fall of the Samurai, hammer and anvil tactics are generally less effective and less common, since there's no spear wall ability and you want to avoid blocking your gun's line of sight. On top of that, the frequency of friendly fire means frontline spear levy have a tendency to break almost instantly. You'll need to field more expensive Kachi units to bolster your main line, while also taking great care in ensuring your flanking cavalry aren't gunned down by your own men. Overall, Fall of the Samurai is balanced in favor of defense in depth tactics and maximizing firepower to incite a mass rout. Made obvious by most military technology is unlocking and improving modern units. Here are a few hammer and anvil templates to start off with. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed so you can keep learning more about these neat tactics, and if you would like to see exclusive content like behind the scenes, extended cuts, and screenshots, subscribe to my Patreon. You can also support the channel by getting some neat merch. We've got branded caps, beanies, water bottles, and more on the way. You can also hop onto Discord and join in on all the fun conversations and more. See you next time. Bye bye!